Strong Enough merch is now available. Go to strongenoughpod.com and see all the things that you can get to show your strong enough pride, as well as remind people and yourself that you are strong enough and you are worth it. Welcome to the Strong Enough podcast, where we talk about the challenges and celebrate the triumphs of people from all walks of life. I'm your host, Claudia. Today's guest is going to talk about going through challenges in her life and being in places where she felt like she had to dim her light to fit in. These experiences led her to set up a program where she empowers other women to shine and be their best. Please help me welcome Jamie G. Smith. Jamie, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. How about you?
I am doing very well, and I have to say, I'm so excited to chat with you today. And you are one of my first Denver gals that have been on the podcast. So I'm super excited that we're basically neighbors.
Well, I love that's so fun. I know you and I, when we were trying to find a time to meet, both of us are used to figuring out what time zone, what does that mean for Mountain Standard Time, right? And so I was excited as well. And I was excited to know that you were in the same state and quite close. So that's really fun.
Yes. And when you talked about, converting the time, that is so stressful for me. And I don't know why, but I always find it necessary to do the math for whoever. Nobody ever does the math for me, but that's fine. I'm just happy that we can say a time and we don't have to think about it because we're in the same time zone. So that's fantastic.
Oh, I'm with you because there's several times I've messed up the time zone between like Central, Pacific. I'm like,
yes.
So I am totally with you.
Yes. And then you factor in daylight savings and it's a whole other mess. So we could probably have an entire conversation about time zones, but we're not going to. We have so much more to share. So I would love it if you would start by telling the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I would love to. I kind of lived a couple different lives. I was a stay-at-home mom for probably 11 years, 10, 11 years. And then divorce happened. And that was a whole thing. If you've ever been divorced, it's a whole thing, right? It's life-changing. And so went through that process. And in the meantime, I ended up being an international fitness presenter, which no, it doesn't mean fitness competitions. What it actually means, because that's what people's perceptions many times would be, is it's when you go to different locations. So I went to China, I went to Sweden, I went to Canada, California, like all the places. But essentially, fitness people also need like continuing education credit. So it's the big conferences where all of the fitness people go. And so what we did was we did kind of the latest and greatest fitness trends for the industry. And I would work with, I was a Reebok athlete for a year and introduced their dance fitness line to international markets and the national market. And we would create choreography and do different things with tools and so forth. And that was so amazing because we would do videos, video shoots and photo shoots. But, at the time, that's when I was during the time of getting a divorce, and my 3 little kids were 6, 8, and 10. So not only does everything happen on the coasts, and I live in Colorado like you, but also it goes in waves of, income and projects. And so you have, all of this and then nothing at all. And so as a stay-at-home mom previously, I really wanted to be able to feed my kids and be with my kids and raise my kids. And that lifestyle was really challenging because in order to feed them, I had to travel a lot. And in order to be with them, I couldn't travel a lot. So I finally ended up in the real estate industry, which is funny enough, to kind of settle back into Colorado and to provide a whole different job and more security. And so I was in the real estate industry, really growing real estate agents and lenders and their businesses, helping them with business development and growth. And then, but all along then, I was really helping women. And that's really my truest passion of all. And so really growing women, being there to elevate women. So now what I do is I'm an elevation strategist, specifically for mostly women 40 plus, because I'm in my 50s and life changes when you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. And I really love to, I have a passion for helping women that are in that spot, elevating their life, elevating their business, but also working through all of that, what that means, because our bodies change, our lives change, that we have transitions, like, like we have big traumas that happen, we have divorces, we have life changes, we have jobs, we might get, we might start a new job, we might get fired from our job. So one of my passions, biggest passions, and it's been woven throughout all of my life, is really helping women and elevating women and being a part of raising women and supporting them in a community, in a safe space. And so I have now, what I do is I'm an elevation strategist for high achieving women. And so I love to work with them to move and empower them beyond the beliefs, the doubts, and behaviors that are holding them back from their next level, so they can truly become unstoppable. And so I created LUXE every day, which stands for Lead a Unique Extraordinary Existence every day. So I do that through programs and events and that kind of thing. So I've lived kind of several lives in the last, 20, 30 years.
Well, I have a lot of questions to ask. I
Yeah.
need to start by saying you're not in your 50s. I'm
I
literally
love
going to
you.
need to
I
see
love you already. I love
like
you.
a sworn affidavit. I do want to share that on this podcast, I have a knack for bringing on vampires. So people who look nowhere near their age. And I don't think you saw my face when you said you were in your 50s, but it kind of looked like this. So for those
I
who are
appreciate you.
listening and not
Oh,
watching, I made the jaw drop, because if you're listening and not watching, Jamie does not look like she's in her 50s
uh,
whatsoever. Uh,
girl, God bless you.
so looking good, lady. That's what I'm going to start with.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you.
I also appreciated how when you were naming out different countries, you had California almost like it was its own country. So
Well,
that was nice as well. Um, I love that you're so supportive of women. And,
Mm,
I feel like what we've seen as a trend for a really long time is women being very competitive with one another.
yes,
Women wanting to tear each other down, women wanting to stab each other in the back, to crawl over one another to get to
right.
a better position in life. And I don't know about you, I have even struggled having women friends because you experience
100%.
the same thing. I do want to say my boo boo now is amazing. She's the best friend that anyone could have. All that to say, what led you to being such a support for other
Mm,
women? What made you want to straighten another woman's crown versus tearing
mm,
it off?
that's a great question. Because so many of us women have experienced that, right? We have those trauma stories, or we have experiences that change us. And I for sure had that as well. I don't know about you all, Claudia, I don't know about you, but were most of your friends in high school like the good friends boys? They were
Mhm.
for me because they were
Yep.
easier. They were
Yes.
less drama. They didn't attack me. And, I learned, and this is an interesting question. I learned, and I just realized this a few years ago. I learned to be a high achiever, but yet slide under the radar so that I wouldn't get attacked, right? So you
Mhm.
can't show up too much as yourself. I don't know if ladies, if you're listening, have you felt ever like you're dimming your light because you were used to getting attacked, or you got judged or criticized, or you were afraid of failure because, again, then you weren't enough or you were too much, right? It's all of those things. And these come from our childhood. And I realized some of the patterns that I had really stem back from back in the day, like, right? Like 50 years. Oh, I guess it wouldn't be. I guess it'd be 30 and 40 years ago. I'm like, how old? And it's because girls have those insecurities in high school and college, right? And so I didn't necessarily play by the rules. I didn't do what everybody else did. And so because of that, I wasn't always fully accepted. But I did learn a characteristic to slide under the radar, to still achieve, but yet not too much that would draw too much attention. And I think that is what so many women our age, like in the 30s, 40s, 50s, like have learned. And the thing is, and I know you have a really powerful program that's coming up that's talking about, standing into your voice and raising into your voice. And part of that is, even if you're a high achiever, and even if you're not, like even if life has taken over and you feel like you're not a high achiever, all of us can step more into our voice. I don't care who you are. And part of that is letting go of those traumas, those experiences, those being okay with other people not agreeing with what you're saying, being okay with what they're not doing. And one of my biggest things I think as drivers for women is I wanted that, right? I wanted to have safe spaces for powerful women. And it's like if you were a powerful woman or a woman that wanted to do things differently, there wasn't really a safe space for you.
Mhm.
And I think I'm driven by creating an environment where they feel safe, where they can be messy, they can also succeed, right? They can celebrate their successes. And I hate when women get isolated and they get pushed to the side. So I want it to be inclusive. And I really have a heart for that. I hate when women get pushed to the side or on the outside of the circle, especially when they're good hearted, when, and so really that's why I'm drawn to women. I want to create that safe space. And I have to tell you, Claudia, I'm a collector of amazing women, but part of that is learning my boundaries. Part of that not letting those women that haven't healed, because really that's what it is. You and I know, truly, it's wounded people wound people. So not letting those women in my life anymore, even those people that are still wounded and aren't ready to work on their stuff, aren't ready to be healed yet. And so I think one of the things is I create good boundaries, I select great people, and then I invite women in that are ready to change. They're ready for their more. They're ready for a safe environment where they can actually trust women again. And oh, I just got chills. They can trust women again and be in a place to raise, to go to their next level without fear. And does that mean it's going to be perfect? No. Does that mean that somebody might say something to you? Of course they might. But we end up, like, what I love to do is create an environment where we can be in true community. We can really share truths together. What I kept hearing from women in some of my programs were, I thought I was the only one that felt this, experienced this, you know, was saying this. And that's not true. And because we isolate ourselves, we don't want to get hurt. We only say certain things so that we won't be judged, so that we won't lose favor. So, right? All these things. And what I was like, no, like this can be a safe environment. And I would have to say that that is one of the biggest, most beautiful things that I love to see and I'm passionate about is when I can bring women together in a community and they can truly realize, oh my gosh, like women are amazing and they can be safe and it can be so much more fun to do life together and so much more fun to actually say what I'm thinking, because what's going to happen is other women are going to be like, I know. I didn't think I could say that either. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, that's exactly how I felt too, right? And it's this beautiful synergy and this beautiful like healing and this gorgeous ability to provide this atmosphere for women to raise together versus tear each other one down. And so I think that's probably what started that whole thing, but then also being able to free women to trust again and to
Mhm.
try again, right?
I love that. And you can see and hear and feel your passion
Mhm.
as you're speaking about what you're doing. And I think that's how you really know that you're in the right space, that you're doing
Yeah.
the right thing for you. One of the things that you mentioned was boundaries, and that
Mm.
you learn to really set good boundaries and to not allow, the people who haven't healed or aren't ready to heal into your space. I would love for you to talk a little bit about that because I know I've experienced it and I think other women have as well, where you're in the space of improving yourself and you're moving forward and people are holding you back. whether
Mm,
it's friends or family, but people who you have been so attached to for so long
yeah,
that it's really hard to let go. I know, and I think it is very freeing when you do that, and you're not only helping yourself, but you really are helping that other
yeah,
person because you're giving them an opportunity to have new experiences and to create a life where hopefully they can heal.
yeah.
How did you get to the place of being able to do that? And then what would you say to the people who were in
Mhm.
that space of feeling that toxicity or those
Mm.
wounded people holding on?
Ah, that's so good. I had like 50 different things I could have said just when you were talking. Because this is such a rich question. This is such a rich topic. It's so important, especially for women, because I think as women, and I don't, and not, this is a general statement for sure, but as women, many times we don't completely say what we want to say. We don't do exactly what we know is true to ourself, our core. We've forgotten our true identity. And so it's like we give in to things that really don't serve us or build us up or raise us to our highest level, our highest version of who we were actually created to be, right? And I think it's so challenging because when you are in a life transition where you're trying to grow, there's a lot of messy. There just is. And I want to first start by saying, give yourself so much grace. Like, it's gonna be messy, and that's okay. Like, you're making changes. It's like a little toddler that's learning to walk, or, like they destroy things all over the place. That's why we have child locks, right? So instead, be okay with being messy. Give yourself grace and then come back to your center. And for me, like, I'm a Jesus girl. If you're not, that's perfectly fine. But whatever centers you, always come back to that every day, over and over, so that you get more centered in who you are and really how you were created. And then choose, like, what are your boundaries that would be healthy from that space? Because when we're choosing boundaries from a space that's not even aligned with us, first of all, that's not going to work, right? We're choosing other people's boundaries. We're choosing just to, like, be defensive versus offensive and proactive. And so I think the first thing is get in alignment with who you really are. And sometimes that's a walk to figure that out, right? Sometimes that takes a minute, but the more you figure that out, you'll recognize the things that don't align with your core of who you are and what you really need in life right now. And once you figure that out, then choose which boundaries will help elevate you, and take moments of reflection to figure out what's, de-escalating you, taking you down back to that place of where you don't want to be, that person you don't want to be. Because it's so true that our environment, the people, all of these things affect us so much. Like, it's crucial that you really evaluate um, who and what affects you in a positive way, and who and what affects you in a negative way. So, like, in my course Velocity, I talk about, like, pulling more and drawing more of, and being intentional about bringing more of the things that fill you up, and the things that light you up and make you feel more like yourself, and then letting go of the things that no longer serve you. And what that can look like is different from 3 months now, from 6 months now, from a year, because as we evolve, different things don't any longer serve us. And we need new, fresh boundaries. We need new, fresh levels. We need new, fresh, things that we are going to be contributing to our life. And so I think just really centering yourself first, getting aligned with who you are, deciding, is this something that's going to serve my bigger version and the truth of who I am? And then set boundaries from that space. But the other thing that I would say about setting boundaries is it's not somebody else's responsibility to honor them.
Mhm.
It really isn't. It is your responsibility. If you're listening, it is our responsibility, your responsibility, to honor and to hold strong to your own boundaries. I think, gosh, I can't remember her name, but she wrote a book about boundaries. And she was saying a boundary without a consequence is just a bad suggestion. Right?
Love that.
Because, yeah, it's so true. A boundary without a consequence is just a bad suggestion. if you don't have, if you don't know how you're going to hold strong to the boundary that you've created, then they're not responsible, right? Like it's you that's creating the boundary for you. And absolutely, you want positive people in your life. And again, if they're not going to protect and honor your boundaries, then that's a whole nother conversation of maybe that person doesn't deserve to be in your space, right? It's going to be a couple hard conversations once in a while. It's going to be a couple hard decisions because our comfort zone is in certain people. Our comfort zones is how we act. Our comfort zones are certain self-sabotaging behaviors that keep us feeling comfortable with where we're at. And so sometimes our boundaries are really just letting go of our own self-sabotaging behaviors. It might be watching Netflix. It might be drinking every night. It might be not going to bed on time. These are things that hold us back. And those are just simple boundaries that we ourselves can choose. What is the next level boundary for my next level version of who I am that I need to help me go to that level? And sometimes, like for me right now, I am working a lot. And so, but I love it. Like, I don't know if that you, but like when you love what you do, like you can work all day and all night long. Are
Yeah.
you with me?
Yes.
But I'm needing to choose to go to bed earlier than 1 a.m. because then I don't want to get up until like 9, which we all know like that's fine, but I actually need to get up earlier than that. So even for me, I know my next level is I have so much creative things that I'm producing right now that I need that mental clarity. And it doesn't come unless I've gotten sleep, unless I've gotten up and done my morning ritual of getting, spending time with God, working out, reflecting and organizing my day. So for me, like that's my next level boundary right now. And also I'd say like, and not that it's bad, but if like for me, like I've learned at I think it's just an age thing, but like it's easy to drink with friends and
Mm.
socially, and everybody always wants to go for a drink, and I'm like, I cannot drink every day anymore. I just can't do it. It slows me down. It takes my energy. It steals my sleep. And so sometimes it's just even us keeping our own boundaries, but other times it's setting boundaries with people, setting in boundaries with environments. Maybe you're going into a holiday or a family gathering and you are not your best when you're surrounded in this environment. So how can you create a boundary where maybe you limit your time while you're there? Maybe you limit what people say. You're like, you know what? I'm not okay with that anymore, right? So there's so many different boundaries we can set, but really the truth is what's going to serve you right now to let go of and what's going to serve you right now to bring more of into your life.
Why do you think so many people feel like setting boundaries is selfish
Hmm.
instead of self-care?
Yeah, I think because we feel like we have to make I think that's a people pleasing
Mhm.
thing. We feel like we have to make everybody okay, everybody comfortable. We don't want to step on any toes. And here's the reality. You are going to piss some people off when you set some boundaries because they no longer get to control you or your time or certain things, and patterns have to change. Habitual things, habitual relationship patterns have to change sometimes when you set those boundaries and people don't like it. For example, some people are yes people. Women especially are really good at saying yes because they feel bad if they say no. But when you start to say no, people are going to not be happy with you. They are going to be pissed off because you're no longer doing what they want, right? And so I think a lot of times it's that people pleaser, it's that nurture inside of us, it's that idea that we have to be servants. And yes, you have to be a servant, but you also won't be a good servant unless you take care of yourself first. Like if
Right.
you don't have the energy and capacity and you're not filled with light and life, you won't have the capacity to fully serve the way Jesus and God want us to serve. And there's so much more of an elevated level that we're capable of when we take care of ourselves first. I know that you are such a great advocate of this, and that's so important.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and it's sometimes hard to practice what I preach, but
Mm,
I am doing better. You talked earlier about dimming our light and how it becomes very common, especially for women, to not operate at the level at which they're capable because of fear of being bullied, judged, harassed,
Mhm.
whatever. What's the biggest thing that you've seen in yourself and in the women that you work with when you're able to turn that dimmer
Yeah.
switch and really shine?
Wow, there's so much. Again, like you just asked the best questions, Claudia, because I'm like, I could, oh, there's so much. So, a really quick a story. So, 2 years ago, I went to an event and I could feel like I could feel something coming up as far as, you know, how you feel there's more and there's something coming up and you know it's big and you're like, oh, what's happening? Like, I don't know what it is, but it's coming. So, I went to this event and really the person leading the event was like, okay, what is it that's going on for you right now? Like, what are you hearing? What are you feeling called? And I stood up and I literally, ladies, I don't know if you've ever been in this, gentlemen, like, I don't know if you've ever been in this spot, but where you are resisting so hard because you're like, oh, I don't want to step in further. Oh, I know I'm going to be called out. I know that there's more and I don't know what that looks like. And that's scary. And I'm resisting. And I don't even know if I'm enough to do what you're asking me to do, right? It's like that whole conversation and internally that you're feeling. And I stood up with total resistance. I'm just going to tell you. And I stepped forward. I'm like, I'm going to stop holding back because, again, like that high achiever in me, I have been driven all my life, but I also have conditioned myself and know exactly how to slide under just enough to get by, to not draw too much attention to, right? I know how to play the game. Like I have
Mhm.
been a chameleon and I've learned that trait. And I knew that by stepping out and stepping more into my voice and not dimming my light, I was going to draw attention and not all of it good,
Right.
right? Like that's the process we go through. And I decided to choose because in this stage in life, I don't want to ever like I want to live my full capacity. I want to tap into every single thing that was given to me that I have inside of me. I don't want to leave anything untapped when I do go to heaven. Like I want every aspect of me to be tapped out and I know right now because I there's so much more inside of me that I need to actually step forth in courage and just choose and be okay with not having everybody like me. Be okay with people saying mean things to me. Be okay with them, trying to pull me back down. And but what I found out, and I think you'll really appreciate this, is how we talked about earlier, wounded people wound people. What I realized in this instance was free women, free women. So when we decide not to dim our light, when we decide that we're going to have the courage to go full out, whatever that looks like, and the scary part is that we don't know what it's going to look like. The scary part is we don't actually know what's going to happen. We have no control over that. But what we do have control over is stepping fully in, doing exactly whatever it is we're called to, and then trusting and then doing another step, not knowing what the next step is necessarily, but fully expressing our voice, fully expressing who we are and who we're created to be, and beginning to learn because we don't even know what all we have access to.
Mhm.
And so, learning and exploring and choosing to step out and being heard is so powerful because other women around you, there's going to be a couple things that happen when you do this. Either you're going to give other women permission to rise with you, other people permission to rise you, because now you're walking in your freedom. And they're like, if she can do it, I could do it. Right. And so it's this empowerment place that you're actually leading the way. And the other thing is the people that aren't okay with it, the people that are creating issues, that maybe are judging, that are doing all the things. What you're doing, if you're dimming your light, is you're actually doing a disservice. You're holding them back
Mhm.
because you're dimming to make them feel better. And so you're actually doing a disservice to those people around you that are going to be uncomfortable when you rise, when you try new things, right? And so they have two choices though. They can just choose to get uncomfortable and rise and grow, or they can choose to stay where they're at. But that's not your responsibility. That's between them and God, right? And so we have our own journey. And why? Like it's time. I just want to say it's time. If you're
Yeah.
listening to this right now, I just got chills again. If you're listening to this right now, It is your time. You are specifically here for a reason. You are not here on accident. And it is your time to rise. It is your time to step into your voice. It is time to let go of the traumas. And I know that Claudia talks about this so much and she has such a passion. Let go of the traumas that are holding you back. It is time to grow out of them and clear them. When we let them rule us, we don't get to live our full extent of our lives. And yeah, it's sometimes hard and it's you have to feel. But I want to tell you, you're going to be okay. I don't care what happened. If you choose to grow and choose to walk forward, you're going to be okay. And not only that, once you clear it, once you go through the healing process, you're going to be amazing because there is a purpose for why you had to go through what you went through. There is a purpose that you have to share with the world. You were created for greatness. I don't care who you are or what you are thinking right now. You were created for greatness. I don't know. Sorry.
I know. I just want to like jump up and down, do a cartwheel, things that I can't even do right now because of my back. But I want to do all of that because you're so right. A lot of us, women, men, everybody, we sit in a place that's comfortable and we
Mm,
don't want to get uncomfortable and take that one step. So what I really love that you said there is, basically you don't have to have it all figured out.
mm-mm.
You don't have to know exactly what the end result is going to be. You just have to take that first step
Yes.
and then be willing to take the next one. You also mentioned trauma, and I know that we have both experienced different types of trauma. Divorce is trauma.
Mm,
There's a lot of trauma that people have gone through. I think a lot of people now sit in a victim space. It's the why did this happen to me? Why me? Why did I deserve this?
mhm,
What do you think is the best first step for people to get out of the victim space and
mhm.
start moving towards empowerment?
That's such a good question because I do know plenty of people that sit in victim. I call it an operating system. Unstoppable is a different program that I have, but I talk about the different operating systems that we have ingrained in us.
Mhm.
And they are learned, they are our way of coping, they are our way of really walking through life. And when you're in that victim mentality or that victim space, what you have to realize is you're going to be drawing exactly where you're at and what your thoughts are and your actions. You're going to be drawing that exact thing back to you. The exact thing you don't want to happen is the exact thing that's going to happen because that's your energy. You are a magnet for whatever you are putting out. I just want you to hear that first. And sometimes we don't want to admit that we're a victim. And that's a place that we have to start too is like, am I in victimhood? Am I feeling sorry for myself? Am I constantly making excuses, right? Really, I just want to encourage you. Like, it's okay to be there. And then you start to assess, like, why am I here? Let's get some healing for this, right? Let's do some things to get out of this space. But that first piece is really awareness and acknowledgement of, you know what, you're right. And I'm not, instead of beating yourself up, it's not like, because then you'll just go back into victim mentality and everything will go bad again, right? So it's really not about beating yourself up. It's that acknowledgement
Mhm.
of, it's like any addiction. It's actually an addiction of putting yourself back in that space because that's your comfort zone. And so it's an acknowledgement of this is how I view things. This is who I am. This is what I'm offering because it feels, for me, right? I'm sorry. Everybody else has more. Everybody else can do more. I don't have those same talents. I don't have those same resources. But the truth is, you've created that. Your internal dialogue is what creates your external around you. Anything, the people around you, your external environment, all of the things. And so the first thing is awareness and acknowledgement, and then reflection and healing. Because when you start to reflect and heal, you can be able to start to clear it. And a great step to start, even just daily, is start with gratitude. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. What are you grateful for? What good things do you have in your life? And then the next step is cease those thoughts as soon as they come up, capture them and reframe them so that you begin to reframe your thoughts. Begin to reframe how you speak, how you think, but you have to capture them immediately. Like it's a trigger. You just have to go through the process of capturing, stopping, and reframing to a positive. What is it that you do want in your life? Instead of, you know, I never get the opportunities that I
Mm-hmm.
really desire because that's just who I am and that's just what happens to me. You immediately stop and say, you know what? I have access to all the opportunities. I draw in the most positive people. I draw in great things for my life and I choose to believe these things, right? And you have to get in a place where you say them over and over and then you start to feel them in your body and then start acting on them in that positive way. So there's multiple things we can do, but I think again the first thing is awareness and then also healing and allowing those conversations that are really hard to have with yourself, those awarenesses that you're like, you know what, I am doing this. Instead of beating yourself up and instead of punishing yourself, have grace and say, okay, what can I do that would make a switch today in the next 30 seconds? That's all you have to do. Like, you don't have to go 5 years from now, just go 30 seconds from now. And then the next day you'll go a minute from now. And the next day you'll go every 30 minutes. And it will start to be this like flood of momentum that all of a sudden you'll start looking around and now you have positive people in your life, right? And I would also say, listen to positive podcasts like Claudia's. Read positive books. Take out all of the negative things in your life. That includes the books, the TV, the music, the people. When you take out those negative sources and replace them with positive sources, that's such a great way. It's like a very fast ninja trick to just start to replace all the negative, right? So those are a couple of things I would say.
I want to take your gratitude idea a little bit further because I know a lot of people, who are not in a good place will reply with, "Well, I don't have anything to be grateful for." And what I would like to say is there are mornings that I will wake up and I'm grateful for waking up, or I'm grateful for
Amen,
getting out of
sister.
bed. So, if you're listening or watching, you can start with that, and that's okay. You know, you talked about people being in their comfort zone, and, that's an easy place to be. Share what it's like, when your comfort zone
Mm,
changes from a place of unhappiness and not good things surrounding you to joy, abundance,
mm.
empowerment, and happiness.
Ah, did you hear that like that? The sigh, like
Yes.
that's what it feels like. And I think a couple of things though that I want to say about that is when you do make those shifts, that elevated life that you now have can be so amazing. And you're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even know this was possible. And it's the thing is I realized years ago that we are truly limitless beings and our mindset controls everything in our space, everything around us, what we have, what we don't have. Um, but what I will also say is that transition can be a little sticky. Like, let's just be real because we're used to feeling comfortable in this
Mhm.
egocentric victimhood. Nothing's good enough. And now you're starting to breathe and feel joy. And now you resist it because you're like, what if it's taken away? Or
Right.
what if somebody doesn't love me because now I'm a different person, right? And there's this transition between these two identities of now you're experiencing joy, you have positive things, you're starting to step out a little bit of your comfort zone. And yet it's actually easier to get pulled back down into that level of comfort of what you're used to because that's just what we were used to in life and it's easier for us because it we do know the outcome of that, right? We do
Right.
know what that looks like, and so that's not as scary, honestly. It might stink, but it sucks, but you like, let's just be honest. But this feels so uncomfortable because, and if you don't know, like my hand is raised because this is a whole nother level of identity and things, expectations and new experiences. And so I think the biggest thing too is learning a couple of things, learning to stop having to control everything. That's one of the biggest thing I see with high achieving women, especially is they need control. They
Mhm.
want to control everything. They want to know the outcome. And here's a newsflash for you. You're not going to be able to control it. And you're not going to be able to know the outcome of anything. Like, think about COVID. Could any one of us had said, like, the next day, the entire globe was going to shut down?
Right.
And could we have done anything about it? No and no. Like, that's just reality. So, first of all, let go of the control and need to know the outcome. And that's scary because it's uncomfortable, it's new, it's different. But the reality is that actually is what makes us so powerful, is when we can let go and just flow and know no matter what, we're going to figure it out. No matter what, we're going to go with the flow and something amazing could happen. But if something hard happens, we're enough to figure it out. So I'd say, first of all, is like let go of that. But
Mhm.
also, my little challenge to you is to activate more discomfort, meaning leap every single day doing something that feels uncomfortable. And I said, leap every day. Like, it could be little, and then some days it could be big. But when you make those new leaps, what happens is, your comfort level is down here by my chin if you're just listening. And but when you make a leap, it goes up a little bit about, past your chin. And then you make another leap and it goes up towards your nose. And then and what happens eventually is if you make enough leaps every day, all of a sudden your new, like your ceiling of where your comfort zone was, that becomes your floor. And you have a new ceiling for things that you're comfortable with, that you can actually access more of who you are. You can access more of the things in life. You can access more opportunities. You can access so many more things when you get out of your comfort zone and reset your ceiling. And the beauty is your ceiling is never set. The truth is it's never going to be past what you're capable of, because there's always, always more. Always.
Yes, yes, and another yes. And we do sometimes give homework on this podcast. So leap every day. That is your ongoing homework. I would love it if you would share a little bit about your business. I know you talked about it earlier and kind of an overarching what you do and who you help, but I would love if you would share a little bit about the programs that you offer and what you are doing with women to empower them and help them and help them achieve even more.
I love it. Thanks for asking. You know, so when I stepped forth 2 years ago into my own bigger voice, into my own, stepping forth into my no longer playing small, I found a very big purpose and a passion for really helping other women do that same thing. And to really have all of us stop playing small. Like, inside, if you're holding back, if you're so worried about, if I were to do this or say this, you know, I just can't. And many times it's that one thing you think you can't do that is really what you need to do to go to your next level.
Mhm.
And so I am passionate about taking women to their next level, to break through those hidden visible, like those hidden barriers that are holding you back from your next level. And so, actually, I would love to invite any women here that are listening to a masterclass. I will be doing a masterclass specifically called Extraordinary Power, because it is really releasing that extraordinary power, whatever that looks like for you, wherever you're at in life, and releasing the extraordinary power of who you were created to be. It's really unlocking the secrets to your personal unstoppable success and giving you a formula to do that. Like, let's do it together. And I would love just to invite you. It's a free masterclass. You can join in and just tap in, because here's the thing is, remember how we talked about, surrounding yourself with other positive people. Well, there's going to be women here that are just like you, that want more for their life. They want a safe environment. They want more tools in their toolbox to succeed. They want to know, how can I cross that barrier of my next level of success in life, in business? And so, what I'm most excited about right now is my extraordinary Power Masterclass because it's that exact thing. It's helping women find or discover those invisible barriers, really helping them take those quantum leaps in their life to their next level. And so I'd love to invite you. You can go to Luxe Everyday, is LUXE, everyday.com/EP for extraordinary power. And you can join in the masterclass. Again, it's free. There is a VIP version that has a lot of really fun bonuses that I would encourage. But I would love to just invite women that want their next level, that are ready for a quantum leap, that are done holding back, that are ready to do their more. I call it your more. Like, what is your more? Like, what excites you? What was a thing that you're like, I wish I could, but I'm just afraid. I'm holding back. Like, what is your more? Like, let's do our more together. Whatever that looks like for you, let's stand in that and choose to rise together. And so that's, I think, what I would love to invite, women into. Again, if you want more information, even just about me, go to luxeveryday.com. I'm also on Instagram at luxeverydaylife. So I would love to chat with you with anything that you guys need.
Awesome. Well, I know I will be there. So
Yay!
I want to take a quick turn before I let you go. For those who watch and listen regularly, we have to talk about tattoos. I
Mhm.
love tattoos. I have a lot of tattoos. Now, if people are looking at you right now, and I don't mean this in a negative way at all, but I think if we put a poll up that more than 50% would say that you don't have any tattoos, and they would be
Okay.
wrong.
They would be wrong.
I would love, and they would also be wrong, about you being over 50, because that was a lie. So I would love if you would share a little bit about, I know you have a couple, your favorite tattoo, what it means to you, and why you got it.
Mm. My favorite tattoo I got back in 2017 or 18, and it is a phoenix. Now, I'm sure a lot of y'all know what a phoenix is. It's basically rising from your own ashes. And that is why it's so meaningful to me, because through my divorce, it was such a devastating time and it was such a hard journey. But again, that's why I'm where I'm at. I've had all those realizations. I've gone through all of the healing. I've learned so many incredible lessons that have helped me to rise. But again, I was part of that, the ashes, the whole like crash, and to be able to like it was, yeah, it was the part of the demolishing of it, my demolishing my own life. But it's really that ability to get back up when you're in that place. It's that ability to be resilient. It's that ability to, even though you're seriously like literally, I call it ground zero, is where I ended up in 2012, is because everything that I knew of as my life as I wanted to create it, that little fairy tale dream had just come crashing down. And I had to pick myself back up and do the hard stuff to recreate myself, to rediscover who I really was, and also what I really wanted in life and what mattered now. What are my core values? What are my, things that really drive me? And to be brave enough to do that, to withstand the judgment, to, do all the things. And so I think that's why the Phoenix is so relevant to me. I think one of these days I'll do a create a program just around the Phoenix. You know what I mean? Because it's so, like, so many of us, I want to just tell you right now, if you're listening, if you're going through a devastating time, like if you think like, why bother? Like, why bother? I'm just going to tell you, you were created for greatness. And right now it doesn't feel like it, but there is something special for you. And you are an amazing human being. And please get up and rise, and get up and rise again, and find people and things in your life that can help you heal, that can help give you grace, that, you know what I mean? Like, just, you are so much, and you are cared for so much, even if it doesn't feel like it. And I just want to say, get up over and over and over and over, and do things differently if what you're doing isn't working. So
Where's your Phoenix?
it's on my hip bone.
Me too.
Which just it is, you have one too. Okay, that's just creepy. That's so funny. Like, we're the Colorado like Phoenix girls right here.
Right.
It's not the most comfortable place to get a tattoo. I'm just gonna tell you.
It was a long, mine was about, I think, 6 hours-ish.
Oh,
So it was a
yeah.
little sit. Um,
Yeah.
any other tattoos in your future potentially?
In my future, I don't know. I have a little one on my heel,
Mm,
but that was from college, and that was like a community one where we all went
yeah,
together as girls and got the same one. So yeah, that's more of the, not as
yeah.
meaningful ones, but just more of that community feel. But yeah.
Well, we might have to do, a Tattoo Tuesday together at some point.
I love it.
So,
Stay
Jamie,
tuned. We will go
yes,
live if we do
we will
Tattoo
go live.
Tuesday.
I know you mentioned earlier, but I would love for you to mention again, where can people find you? So
Mm,
if they want to join the masterclass, if they
yeah.
want to look at the other things that you have to offer, if they maybe want to come out and hang out with both of us and have a
Yeah.
cocktail or a
Yes.
coffee,
Yes.
where can they find you?
Yeah, you can go to Lux Everyday, LUXE everyday.com. You can also go to my Instagram, which is Lux Everyday Life, and so is my Facebook page, Lux Everyday Life. You can find me on YouTube, which is luxeveryday.tv. And then my masterclass, I would love to have you. So it is luxeveryday.com/EP, because we are going to tap into and activate our extraordinary power together.
I love it. Jamie, you have been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing so much with the audience and being so kind, so thoughtful, so energetic, and so inspiring. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love your mission. I love your heart and everything that you do for people. And I can't wait for your program to come out. It's going to be extraordinary.
Thank you. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social media so you'll never miss what's going on. Remember, until next week, you are strong enough, you are worth it. Thank you for listening to the Strong Enough podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching Strong Enough. And on YouTube, we're on the Spear Talk channel. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strong Enough Pod. If you have suggestions for an upcoming episode or a future guest, please reach out at strongenoughpod@gmail.com. Remember, you are worth it.